Welcome back to the Professor's Lab. I'm Professor V, and this is game one of this matchup of some post-rotation Temporal Forces Standard training that happened on March 9th, 2024. If you didn't know, Die Hard League happens every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, featuring casual and tournament play of whatever format anyone wants, really. More info in the description. Temporal Forces, pre-release Saturday, March 16th at 1 p.m. and League Challenge Thursday, March 21st at 6 p.m. All Central Time, all at Die Hard Games, and check out Pokemon's event locator for premier events at the shop, such as League Challenges, League Cups, and pre-releases. Please hit that like button right quick, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, say what you need to say in the comments, and all that other good free stuff. But anyways, let's research this game. On the left, the Ancient deck, I'm calling it Ancient Allies here, versus on the right, Lugia V-Star. Wonder who's going first here. I think it's Lugia is going to go first. Keep in mind in these games that these players are just training. They're playing to learn, definitely playing for fun. So there may be some takebacks on either side. There may be some pauses where our players are talking things through, discussing strategies, looking up new cards, etc., etc. Remember, we're in the hyperbolic time chamber here, unlimited time training. The whole goal of this is to learn. So if there's any swaps or takebacks or pauses, etc., that's why. Thank you guys for your patience here. As a Capturing Aroma is played, Tails is flipped, so a basic Pokemon can be found. Do we search for a Cincino or Mincino, I think is the baby one, or a Snorlax is the question here. I don't think we're scared of a Lugia V getting KO'd on the opponent's first turn, so we don't need to grab another Lugia V. Actually thinking about grabbing the Lumineon V. Okay, yeah, it just depends on what's in hand. Maybe there was no supporter in hand, so I'm going to grab the Lumineon V for the next turn. Okay, and it looks like our players are doing some of this training stuff I mentioned at the beginning, where our Lugia player thinks it would have been optimal to start the Snorlax instead of starting the Lugia. And the reasoning, at least in this instance, is the Snorlax just needs two attachments, a Gift Energy and a Double Turbo Energy, in order to be able to start attacking without any Archeops in play. Archeops, of course, has the Primal Turbo ability that allows you to search your deck for two special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon. You can use two Primal Turbos per turn if you have two Archeops out. But if there are no Archeops out, the Snorlax can still attack, assuming two attachments have happened to it. So anyways, a long way of saying it's probably better to start with the Snorlax since there was an energy in hand to be able to attach, because if there's no Archeops, the next turn Snorlax could still attack by attaching a Double Turbo Energy to it. So our players made it so that way the optimal plays, quote, optimal plays, were done here. Starting Snorlax in the active, attaching Gift Energy to Snorlax, Capturing Aroma was played to find that Lumineon V for next turn, and then I think things are passed over to our Ancient Allies player. They are going to put an Artisan Stadium into play. That stadium allows either player on their turn to search their deck for a non-rule box basic Pokemon to put onto the bench. Now, that Koraidon is in the active spot. Koraidon has the Origin Roar attack for a fighting and colorless. 30 times this attack does 30 damage for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. It also has the Shred attack, a shred attack for 130, but that cost a fire, a fighting, and a colorless. I don't know if there's any fire energy played in here. I think there probably should be, but I'm not sure if there is or not. Next is that new ancient supporter that hopefully I'll memorize after recording all these videos. Explorer's Guidance is played. You look at the top 6 cards of your deck, keep 2 of them, and discard the rest. So obviously the decks are built around, or built with this supporter in mind, so these kinds of decks will probably play recovery cards such as Super Rod. There we go. Nest Ball and Earthen Vessel kept. I don't think you need to reveal what cards you keep, but our players, remember, are training. We're playing for fun, for learning, so it's important to discuss, to communicate, so that way we can learn even better. Drop in life lessons here in the Professor's Lab. Today, as a Nest Ball is played, search the deck for a basic Pokemon to put onto the bench. That Radiant Greninja seems to be the target of the Nest Ball here. Now, the Koraidon could attack turn 1 with Professor Sada's Vitality as a supporter to accelerate energy to it, but there was another supporter played this turn, so instead going to go for an Earthen Vessel, discarding a card in order to search the deck for 2 basic energy cards. The Fighting and Darkness energy found here. The Darkness energy, of course, is for that Roaring Moon with Vengeful Strike. The Roaring Moon's Vengeful Strike attack costs 2 Darkness energy, and it does 70 plus 10 more damage for each ancient card in your discard pile. Fighting energy attached to the bench Koraidon. Radiant Greninja uses its Concealed Cards ability to discard an energy and draw 2 cards. Another Nest Ball is found and will be played here. Searching the deck for another Koraidon. Of course, all these Koraidon have the Ancient tag in the upper right-hand corner, so that is fueling Koraidon's Origin Roar attack. Remember, 30 damage for each of your Ancient Pokemon in play, at the cost of a Fighting and a colorless energy. You can do that in one turn with Professor Sada's Vitality, but remember the other supporter was played, Explorer's Guidance. So I don't think we're going to have an attack this turn. That would have been awesome. I think the Snorlax is weak to fighting as well. But the Koraidon is a dragon Pokemon, right? Yep, it's a dragon. So we would have had to get 5 ancient Pokemon in play in order to take the KO on 150 HP Snorlax. Not possible with the Greninja, Radiant Greninja in play, of course. Still going to pass things over to Lugia. Lugia V-Star evolves onto the bench. Lumineon played from hand. Debating on if we're actually going to play Lumineon. Yes, and then Lumineon has the Luminous Sign ability. When you play it from your hand to the bench, you could search your deck for a supporter card to put into the hand. And Professor's Research will be the supporter for turn. Jet Energy put onto the active Snorlax. And Professor's Research is played, discarding the hand and drawing 7 fresh new cards. It looks like at least one Archeops was discarded with that Professor's Research. The Jet Energy was attached to the active since there could be only one Archeops being put into play this turn, and you also just don't want to discard it with the Professor's Research. So let's see what this research finds. It'd be nice to find at least one more Archeops and a way to discard it. Or are we going in with one Archeops? I see an Archeops in hand, but with the hesitation here, there's probably no way to discard it. I think you do go in with one Archeops. Lugia has the Summoning Star V-Star power ability, of course, that allows you to bring back from the discard pile 2 colorless Pokemon onto your bench. So that's how you, quote, cheat the 2 Archeops into play without playing any of the previous evolutions. So your first minigame is to get at least 2 Archeops in the discard pile, Lugia V-Star, Summoning Star them 2 on the bench, so that way they could start accelerating energy from the deck with their Primal Turbo ability. But first, we're going to resolve this Great Ball. Look at the top 7 cards of the deck. Add a Pokemon card you find there to your hand and shuffle the rest of the cards back into the deck. If that Ultra Ball was if that Great Ball was an Ultra Ball, excuse me, then we would have been able to get the 2 Archeops in the discard pile. So it looks like Great Ball is going to find the Chinchino, and Artisan is going to find the backup Snorlax, and it gets put onto the bench. Double checking the hand, making sure there is actually no way we can get another Archeops in the discard pile. That Mincino is put onto the bench. And Summoning Star is used in order to bring 1 Archeops from the discard pile onto the bench. Next, that Collapsed Stadium is played. That has that limits both players' bench to 4, and if there's 5 Pokemon on the bench, you discard Pokemon until you have, or let's say if there's more than 4 Pokemon on the bench, you discard until you have only 4 on the bench. So that is a good way to get rid of that liability Lumineon there. Thanks, Lumineon, you did your job here, but now let's get you safely into the discard pile so you don't give up 2 prize cards later. And we have the KO on the opposing Koraidon. So next, Primal Turbo will be used on that Archeops in order to search the deck for 2 energy cards, up to 2 energy cards, and attach them to one of your Pokemon. We just want that 1 energy attached here onto the Snorlax, and Snorlax attack costs 3 energy to use, 180 damage. So we're going to find that, I cannot remember what that energy is called. Let's see, therapeutic energy. And the therapeutic energy basically keeps the Snorlax awake. Let's see, I'll read you the Snorlax. Snorlax has the Thumping Snore attack. For 3 colorless, 180 damage. This Pokemon is now asleep. During Pokemon Checkup, flip 2 coins instead of 1. If either of them is tails, the Pokemon's still asleep. So chances are Snorlax is always going to be asleep after it uses its Thumping Snore attack. But the therapeutic energy that's attached to it says it provides a colorless energy, of course, and then the Pokemon this card is attached to recovers from being asleep, confused, or paralyzed and can't be affected by those special conditions. So that's how we keep the Snorlax awake and an active threat, as it takes the KO on the opposing Koraidon, taking the first prize of the game, and stays awake. It also has that gift energy attached to it as well, as the opponent uses Professor Sada's Vitality. That supporter card lets you accelerate a basic energy from the discard pile to 2 of your ancient Pokemon in play, and then draw 3 cards. So the active Koraidon can attack right now. Next is Radiant Greninja, discarding a card, drawing 2 cards with its Concealed Cards ability. Ancient Booster Energy Capsule goes on to that active Miraidon, giving it plus 60 HP, and it can't be affected by special conditions. So that Koraidon has 200 HP right now. And next is the Ancient Ace Spec, Awakening Drum. And I think that does something like draw a card for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. Okay, so 2 cards, 2 free cards drawn there. Not the most effective ancient drum, but we'll take 2 cards. That's better than 0. Next is a Counter Catcher, If you have more prize cards than your opponent, you can play the counter catcher, and it acts like a boss's orders. Bring up a Pokemon from the bench into the active spot. That Mincino, with only 60 HP, brought into the active spot, and that's exactly how much Koraidon's Origin Roar is doing, 60 damage. So they got there, a KO on the opposing Mincino. Tying up prizes here in this early game. Archeops alone in play on Lugia's side. It's missing its homie for this game. As the Lugia V-Star moves into the active spot. That one moves into the active because Lugia V-Star can do 200 damage or 220. Does 220, but with a double turbo that gets reduced to 200 for 4 energy. And 200 HP is how much the opposing Koraidon has, so the Snorlax can't take the KO on it, but the Lugia V-Star can. So let's see if we can get all the required energy. We would just need an attachment from hand, and then Archeops can find the double turbo energy and another energy to accelerate to the Lugia so it can attack this turn. Let's see what our Lugia player can pull off here. I'm guessing there's no energy in hand or no obvious one to attach, so an Iono will be played. Both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their decks, and then draw prize cards equal to their remaining they draw cards from the top of the deck equal to their remaining prize cards. Both players will get 5 cards from the top of the deck here. It looks like Primal Turbo will be used before the Iono. I think you want to Iono before you do the Primal Turbo, so that way there's more energy in the deck to increase your chances of drawing into it, because there definitely needs to be an attachment this turn. So I wonder why the Iono was, or the Primal Turbo was done before the Iono. Either way, there should be, 4 double turbo energy in the deck, so chances are one will be drawn here off of 5 cards, but let's see. Alright, the double turbo energy was hit, never punished. Double turbo energy attached to that active Lugia V-Star. It's fully powered up and can attack for 200 damage and discard a stadium in play if the player chooses to do so. That takes the KO on the opposing Koraidon. I don't think you get rid of the collapsed stadium. That is disrupting your opponent way more than it is you right now, especially in this matchup. It looks like the opponent sees their hand, lays it out like, what can I do here? Alright, let's just finish it out. They're going to bench a Roaring Moon EX and then play an Earthen Vessel, discarding a Flutter Mane in order to search the deck for 2 basic energy, 2 darkness energy found here. Now our player will still be in the game, our ancient player will still be in the game if Roaring Moon can take a KO on the opposing Lugia. Well, we got to get 3 energy on the Roaring Moon on the bench, EX, the Roaring Moon EX on the bench. 2 darkness energy and a colorless energy, so that way it can use its frenzied gouging attack to make the opposing Pokemon KO'd. But Radiant Greninja will discard an energy, draw 2 cards. I just don't know how they're going to get 2 darkness, 3 energy, let's say, onto that Roaring Moon. Energy attached from hand. Yeah, I don't think it's happening here with that supporter being played. And our player kind of agrees there, sees the writing on the wall, and concedes this game. Thank you guys for your patience through these training brand new card learning videos. But let me know what you think of this video and the commentary in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time in the Professor's Lab.